Hello, Glitch Reaper here. I'm back for another Lycanites equipment combos video, and this one's special. You may know that there's a few new things with this particular design. Unfamiliar parts. Well, I'm definitely going to be showing those off, because this is Forester's Vengeance, and it is my first scepter design that has a nice theme to it. The thing is that scepters are now a thing. Custom scepters, I might add. You could also use summoning scepters or staffs before, but now you can make them special using the equipment system. I think you could still craft the summoning staves, but this adds all sorts of additional things you can do with it. It's not just the aimed portal anymore. You can actually summon using projectiles and fire magic from it in other ways. So, I'm going to be showing off how this works. Also, additionally, remember the equipment fuser has been added. It requires a lesser equipment forge, and that is surrounded by lapis lazuli in the crafting grid. So there's actually 8 lapis and 1 lesser equipment forge. But with this, you can level up your parts by putting the charges in here, the part to be leveled up in here, and this will show your experience progress. Parts will retain experience as kind of well, these are all already level 3, so it won't be showing that. But we'll be kind of showing what you'll be doing to build up this beautiful weapon. Staff. This is a scepter. It's a scepter. All sorts of terms for magical rods and staves and sticks and stuff. So yeah, okay. That's an interesting. Interaction with. Okay, that's an interesting interaction with crystal chests. Is sometimes you have to go in and out to get the visual. That would explain a few things. But yeah, you can see it getting shown off in various ways around here. And note that it doesn't really have as much wiggling involved. But it's kind of incidental. I know some people are for the wiggling, some are against. Personally, I like the wiggling in the animations. It's just this one doesn't have any particular animated parts, so it's not like I did that on purpose to avoid them, because I actually do kind of like the fact they have a little bit of life left to them. But anyhow, time for me to do my usual in going over the various parts and where you're going to be finding them. In my organization, I actually also have kind of put all the artificial parts over kind of to the side, and that's something that's also going to be a first for me. You see, there's no dedicated creature part right now that gives you scepter slots. You basically right now just have this one craftable version. So it doesn't give you any other properties or anything like that. It just gives you the ability to make a scepter. And the slot is referred to as a jewel. So jewel slots are the ones that will give your scepters their special powers. And for that matter, determine how they work out. Now this one has been themed with everything involving the arbor element. So basically the power of trees and plants, all the way from its pommel to its tip. So yeah, we have it going all the way. So now I'll be kind of explaining a few things and how this adds up. First of all, for a base you'll be needing an int arm. Ints happen whenever you are harvesting trees and will pretty much just show up. I think just using a normal axe and Lycanite's axe is probably giving better odds than some other modded axes, and that might be where some people are not finding ints, is it might not pop up if it's not a typical event, or one that's specifically within the mod. So that might be why some people have had a hard time finding ints. But they should be showing up whenever you're trimming trees. Decently often, might I add. Also, certain Lycanites events and items can also give you trees. Like, for example, if it's around the winter season and you get a winter gift, one of them gives you salty trees. And salty trees are very angry ints. So, yeah. Now, this, as usual, I'm going with level 3, but now that you can level them up, you just need to keep getting the proper charges with the right elements until you can build them up to level 3. So no more adding the parts up idea. That is out the window completely. And so that's not going to be a thing. Don't worry about using the anvil to do so in experience. You'll be giving them experience with the charges. Might go over that whole way that the system works together overall in another video some point. I'm seriously considering it. Now, the int arm also gives you the power to have a leech effect on yourself on impact. I don't know. I don't remember if this activates when the projectile hits. It might only be whenever you club them with it. I mean, you can literally club them with this thing, although it doesn't have much attack power at all. So you'd be better off using a vanilla wooden sword than hitting them with this. So smacking them with this is a last resort because sure you might give them a few effects when you hit them, but it's just not gonna be the best option. So just saying. Now remember that int arms give you both a head and a pommel slot, which is good for making this all arbor all the time in terms of its element. So basically the power of the forest. So because it gives you a pommel slot, this is where following up helps out a bit more because the new craftable part doesn't really have any particular element to it. It's just kind of there. But right now we kind of need it, and it does add to the look. Now the Vespid Stinger is going to be your pommel, and although I'm going with kind of a Wrath of the Forest, these are usually found either in the event known as the Swarm, if you have events turned on, or this is happens whenever you're going through jungles that you find Vespids. As a pommel, it is optional, but in this case it's going with the design, so it helps with the theme. It gives poison to your targets and penetration effects, so it'll up your damage in more than one way. And note these elements are arbor and acid, so it's very corrosive. They're going to be having a very bad day. Now, the gold scepter that you need to add the jewel slot, as I was saying before, is crafted. So I'm going to be showing the crafting recipe this time. And it takes 4 gold ingots around a wooden hilt. The wooden hilt is just 3 sticks in a row. So, yeah. So that's actually fairly simple. And in modern Minecraft 1.14, etc., you'll and might I add, Lycanite's already been getting the mod up in 1.15 because it went to Forge 1.15 so fast it was hilarious. So yeah, thank you Advancement for that. So best advice for getting the gold: fight some drowned. You'll get plenty. Now the Spriggan heart is a new piece you can find from a Spriggan. Spriggans love to show up whenever you basically defeat well, they show up a lot whenever you're trimming grass. So you're doing trimming around in general and leveling an area to build, you will find Spriggans popping out of the grass and other, for that matter, other farming crops sometimes even. So they'll come by, they'll try to shoot you with their draining lasers, but that's also what you get for this. Not only does this complete the idea of it being mostly arbor, but this particular scepter will have the power of using beams and shots of various special types. Now, it's saying here you get a projectile that's primary and one that's secondary. That's something extra special here. The fact is, whenever you use this in this configuration, one will be your attack click and one will be your use click. Your attack click will be your primary, and your use click will be your secondary. So that's something special to keep in mind whenever I'm putting this together and showing this off. Now, it says this projectile is a summoning seed, and its secondary is a life drain. Now, I know for a fact, trying this out, that it will poison enemies at range with either effect. So, yeah, this is going to be very toxic and very annoying on all sorts of enemies. Without further ado, I'm going to build this up, and hey, look, there's a friendly nymph. That's nice. She just likes hanging around here. As usual, the Master Equipment Forge, the level 3 version, is the best overall, and it can handle parts of all levels, although with the ability to level them up, again, it all comes down to this is probably the only one you'll ever need. But there's a path to get to it, because you'll need to have a crafting table and a wooden axe to make your Lesser Equipment Forge. You'll need that and an iron block to make your Greater Equipment Forge, and to get the Master version, you'll need the Greater version and a diamond block. So, you'll get there. Now, I will now build this up and unleash the power I have in my int arm, my Vespid Stinger, the gold scepter head, and a Spriggan heart. So happy hunting finding all this, because it's going to be worth something crazy. And as traditional, I will also rename the recreated equipment. to its true deserved name. Forester's Vengeance. This is the Wrath of the Forest. Now, there's also something else I'd like to show off real quick, before I really show what this thing can do. It's just kind of a quick little detail, but we now have various functions operating in our equipment. Like, for example, since this has the ability to hoe, or to harvest as a hoe, I should say, it now also has use click as a hoe, so you can now till land. But that's not all. It also has the power to shear a sheep. Yeah, that's right. As long as you don't have a projectile that will shoot them, you can shear them. So Drain Blade is also good. Ah, timed it perfectly. It's shearing sheep. I can drain wool now, too. Ah. Yeah, you'll be fine, sheep. Don't worry. Just keep nibbling grass. You'll recover. It's cold. It always grows back. But wow, that has a visual distance that's a lot more limited than what I remember for crystal chests. I don't know if that's this version or if it's just the fact it doesn't like rendering something so complex as a Lycanite's weapon tool. I'm not entirely sure. But anyhow, this thing is wicked as a weapon. Now, I've set up already. What I've got is my chosen summon. So we just need some things to shoot. Sorry, Raven. Now, the thing is, the abilities go by cooldown timers. And because the beam lasts pretty much about how much the cooldown is, you'll be able to actually fire continuously. So that's one thing about the beam, but that doesn't do a summon. I've already got summon set up, so let's show what the summon could do. I didn't actually hit the guy. When it comes to something that's more neutral or passive to you, you have to directly hit them for them to recognize them as a target. You can see them just going in for it. Okay, now let me fire the beam and see if I get life leech. Nope, you will not get that on projectile and or beam impact. So that's something to keep in mind, is the only way you're going to be getting life leech from the from your base part, or any part for that matter, is if you directly hit them with it when it comes to using a scepter. So that's the thing about custom scepters, is it may be a last resort, but at least you'll be able to actually use those effects. Now, this one does poison either way, and you still get a life draining still get a life draining effect from the beam. So if I were injured and in survival combat right now, I could leech health off my enemies just by purely using the beam. So that means that this thing is going to be very effective in all sorts of situations. So, kind of summarizing how this works, and it's good to show off a scepter for the first time. I think I did kind of pretty good with my design here, because it looks pretty foresty, actually. I mean, when you really think about this, it doesn't just say, this is what happens when a druid in the woods decides to get even for them. Yeah, this is definitely the Forester's Revenge. I could have called it Druid's Revenge, but Forester's kind of seems a bit more in general, because, you know, people are going out, getting some, taking care of the woods in general, and decides to give them various gifts, and they wind up getting revenge on their enemies with it. So, you know, it works. I guess I could rename it Druid's Revenge at some point, but I'm just thinking Foresters for some reason. Maybe it's because the Forestry mod, and the fact that they had beekeeping before bees showed up. I don't know. Well, Vespids also are, so maybe I'm just going bee on this. Anyhow, I'll be logging off for now. Hope to hear from y'all eventually. And bye for now, everybody. And remember, Lycanites, you just keep outdoing yourself there. So thank you, Lycanite, for all this beautiful equipment.